Make your life easier, and so pay close attention so that we don't have to explain this again. Okay, go Colin.
All right. Debating paperlessly. How many people use Synergy? How many people use something else? Everyone is familiar with some sort of paperless. All right.
That's a whole different question.
All right. All right. How many people are familiar with paperless debate? A good chunk of you. All right. So a lot of this is a guide. It's a guide to debating paperlessly. It starts with formatting the files, how to cut cards, things like that, and it ends with how to use the different templates in a debate round. I'm going to talk about debate synergy. That's what I use on my PC. Some people think that verbatim's a little bit better. It's still updating, things like that. Brian Gaston, after I talk, is going to talk about verbatim. So if you have questions about, like, I have a Mac so I can't use synergy, hold those off until the end. There's some stuff we have to get through, and then he'll most definitely answer your questions then. All right. Before tournaments, the first thing that starts is file preparation. Formatting. It's the most important part of paperless debate. If files aren't formatted correctly, macros don't work. You can't, the macros don't work, you won't be able to debate properly. So the first thing is when you're doing research, all of the different websites that Shelby and Kirsch showed you to use, blogs and things like that, they have their own formatting for the internet, and that sometimes does not jive well with copying and pasting into Word documents. So the first thing you want to do is remember to clear formatting from other things, or if you're importing from other files, you want to remove other files formatting, because you'll know that your formatting is okay after this lecture, hopefully. But you will not know that another person's formatting is good, and most times you can count on everyone else's formatting not working, being horrible. You need to remember to, when cutting cards, when you have the card typed out in the paragraph, you need to use the formatting tools. So for both verbatim and synergy, have different formats and styles to write in. So for tags, you don't just write in bolded text. There's tag styles that you use and a different macro for how to use the tag. So when you're writing a tag, don't just bold it, use the tag style. I'll talk about the macros a little bit later, specifically what they are and how they are useful, but you need to remember to use formatting. The other thing for file preparation is you should be looking at files in web layout. There's different layouts. Print preview is the one where there's like a gray around it. It looks like a page. Web layout, it's just white. It's web. There's no page breaks, nothing, because you're debating paperlessly, so you don't need to know when a card spills over onto another page. You don't need page breaks. And it allows for formatting more along the lines of under categories and subcategories rather than based on what pages. So if you view things in web layout, it's a lot easier to prepare files. Lastly is organization. It changes file to file. It changes based on what you're trying to organize, but you definitely need to organize your files based on some sort of, either if you're writing blocks, they need to be organized by blocks. If you're doing a file, just a general file, it needs to be labeled, it needs to be organized into categories. So 1NC, answers to permutations, solvency cards for ports, solvency cards for high-speed rail. If it's a counterplan, something like that. You need to organize it, and different formatting will help you. So I said there's a style for tags, there's also a style for block headers, there's also a style for different sections of files. And synergy is a hat. You'll hear what it is in verbatim a little bit later, but you can split files up that way, but using formatting when you're cutting cards is the most important part. Macros is how you use the formatting shortcuts. You don't have to use them to format things, but it helps. It makes it a lot faster, and it makes cutting cards a lot easier. They cut down on inefficiencies. They cut down on wasting time going and unpicking a menu and then another pull-down menu and something like that. When you can just press a button on your keyboard, one of the function buttons, F1 through F11. And they do everything. Formatting things. So there's hats that separate different large sections of files. So you can separate 1NC from 2NC solvency extensions, or 2NC blocks from 2NC or from theory blocks that you have written on. That separates it. The header in Synergy separates each different block title. So for solvency for high-speed rail is going to be different for solvency for expanding railway, like building more railroads or something, right? It's two different apps under the same subheading of trains for transportation. You would use a different header then because it's a different block. Tag, obviously it's a tag, so you use the tag style for tags when your credit cards don't just bold it. That's very important because Synergy can be compatible with on Macs and it will work well debating and everything, but you have to have the most recent version of Synergy, and you have to use the tag style. Cite as well. When you're writing cites, there's a style for it that will make it look a little bit different than the tag, delineate the cite from the tag, make it easy to read. There's normal for everything that's just like, it'll clear formatting and make it just normal, whatever your times in Roman 12, so in mine, whatever yours is. There's macros for small sizing, so when you're reading cards in debate, it makes it a lot easier if all of the underlined text is bigger than all the ununderlined text, the rest of it is small. There's macros to do that. You can remove returns. If you copy from PDFs or journal articles sometimes, after every line, or each line will be cut in half and you'll need to enter. There's macros for removing those turns. You can also clear formatting. There's macros for that. Then there's macros for things outside of formatting, for creating sites after you give a speech and you need to post sites to your wiki. Or somebody asks, hey, can I get the site to this card that you read? You press a button and it'll create that site for you. Or it can convert somebody else's formatting into your normal template. There's a macro for that. For marking cards when you're reading them. For sending things to your speech document. All of these things that there are buttons for, there's macros that make it a lot easier. Now I don't have the macros listed here. They're different for Synergy and Verbatim. Also, since Kirsch just taught you how to use Google, you can just go on Google and find what macros if you're not. And when you download Verbatim and Synergy, it will have like guides to what the macros are specifically. What you should take from this lecture is that you should use the macros because they can all be different, but they're all good. All right, so before the tournament, after you've cut cards, you've created files, you need to create and organize your virtual tubs. It's within a document folder. It'll say virtual tub. You can create different file folders that become tubs online, and then you can separate and organize your file just like if you had tubs and you had paper files. You can create and organize your virtual tubs. You should do this before the tournament because if you start organizing and going through and trying to prep at the tournament, it becomes overwhelming. It becomes overwhelming and it makes it impossible to prepare for that tournament. You should make sure to check that each of your computers, viewing computer and both you and your partner's computers, you should make sure it's working properly. It doesn't have viruses, that it can last without a charge for, I don't know, like 45 minutes to an hour or something, because you might not be near an outlet during debate while you're debating. So you need to make sure that your computer's not just going to die in the middle of the debate, because that would be horrible. And then if you don't have like backup tubs or something, it would be hard to win rounds. You should remember to use correct formatting. Go through files if they're not formatted correctly, or if they're older files that you have. Reformat those because it makes it a lot easier while prepping at debate tournaments if everything's in the correct formatting and you don't have to worry about stuff not driving while you're sending some of the speech documents. Highlighting your files is important. It is a lot harder before round or in round when you pull up a card to just highlight really quickly on the computer, especially if you don't have a mouse, if you're just using a trackpad or your trackpad doesn't work as well or as sensitively as you would want it to highlight cards. So you should make sure and highlight a lot of the important cards from each file before the tournament, so that during the tournament you can worry about preparing and strategizing. Lastly is check for software updates. I know there's later versions of Synergy and other paperless formats. There's later and later versions they keep being released, so you should check for those updates that will help make things run more efficiently and fix any problems with things that exist before the tournament. Before the round, when you get to the debate tournament, pre-round, just a set of things for paperless debate. You need a viewing computer. some way to show that the other team what cards you're reading. Now, the other team is okay with you just jumping to their computers. That's something that you discuss with them. But you need to make sure before the round that this gets set up, or you have an agreement with the other team. Otherwise, during the round, when they ask for a viewing computer, and you have to spend 20 minutes booting up the viewing computer that you brought, the judge is going to give you less speaker points, probably, because you delayed the round 20 minutes, and no judge wants that. Get your flash drives together for jumping things from you to your partner, to the viewing computer, to other people. Searching for a flash drive is another thing that takes a lot of time that judges don't want to happen. The stand, or whatever you're going to speak off of, make sure you get that in order. A lot of time goes into paperless debate, and you can take a lot of the inefficiencies out of it before the round. Lastly is find an outlet. Obviously, you need to plug in the electronics that you're working with, so you should find an outlet and take claim of that. If you get to the round before the other team to prep, you can steal the one outlet if there's only one, get better seats, things like that. But it helps later in the round. Obviously, before the round, you need to prep as well. If you're debating someone else, you can prep for that. Don't open too many documents on your computer, because when you have like 1 million documents open and your computer starts working really slowly and then Microsoft Word could crash, then all of the prep that you'll have is wasted, and you have to redo all of that. You could lose some cards if you're doing research before the debate or something. So don't open too many documents. After you've used one, close it. Just remember to keep doing that and save your speech documents. Because if your computer does crash, which it might, when you reboot it, you'll have a saved speech document with all the work that you did. So save your speech documents often. Prepping before the debate, you need to use the template. Since you've organized the template by different categories, subcategories, blocks, tags, and things, prepping, you can look at the function. You use the template to go through and find different parts of the file that you need, and then send those to the speech document. You can create, like, I might need to read this. I can create a speech document with all the 2NC cards that I might want to read on case, or 2NC uniqueness cards for politics or something. But organizing and having the template allows you to prep very easily. Also, things like sending cards or sending blocks to speech documents allows you to easily take the blocks and the prep work that you've done and put it in an order that you think you might need to read it in. Lastly is flowing. You should make sure that I recommend, I know Synergy comes with a Microsoft Excel thing that you can flow in, and I would recommend flowing on paper and not using something on your computer. If your computer crashes and you have all your cards on your computer, that is really bad. If you also have your flow on your computer, that's like the worst, because even if you lose your cards, you could still win a debate with your flow, making arguments and things like that. But if all your cards are on your computer and then your flow is, and you're just standing there talking about what you think the debate's about, you're going to lose. So don't flow on the computer, learn to flow on paper. It's a valuable skill. If you are flowing on the computer, you should make sure that you have everything set up and ready to go while you're prepping, and that you start organizing your flow template. The template, all files must be produced in the correct format, or else not a lot of it will work. You also need to use a document map to, it's one of the options. You can click View, it'll say Document Map or Navigation Pane. And it shows up on the side, and it's like a table of contents, basically, that you can scroll through and click on to navigate the file very easily. It allows you to find all of the different parts very quickly. You should use that while you're prepping. The tilde key, very important both in verbatim and in Synergy, the Mac and PC things. This is the tilde key. It's what sends cards and blocks to speech documents. So when you're prepping and you want to read one card in verbatim, I'm told you can just click the tag in Synergy. If you highlight that card and you just hit the tilde key, it'll send it to your speech document wherever you want it to go in the speech document. Also, while you're reading, you can control tilde. This puts a mark in Synergy. So you can mark cards. This key, don't forget about it. Don't forget about it. It's not used very often outside of debate, but this is like your best friend in debate because it saves a lot of prep time. You can just send things to speech documents instead of having to right click, go down to copy, accidentally hit cut, and then worry about you just deleted a whole chunk of text from a file. So During your speech, I mean, it's the same as any speech, right? You're reading. You can skip cards and some things like that. There's some paperless etiquette things, though. Don't fill your speech doc with a bunch of cards that you don't think you'll ever get to, because then it really annoys the other team when you're skipping around and just reading cards. Also, marking when you stop cards, hitting Control tilde puts a mark in synergy, or hitting Enter or something, creating a mark. And you can maybe let the judges know why you're speaking, marking it, or make it obvious that you're marking it. Because when there was paper, you could just have a pen and mark where you were reading. Paperless, some people don't do that. Some people, they may mark but not tell the judge they're marking. The judge might think you're clipping cards or cheating, and no one wants that. Synergy, as well as verbatim, I assume, has a speech reading mode that makes the text bigger and allows you to scroll through it very easily. So you should get used to switching between that back and forth. Because during the speech, you may want to be in the speech reading mode, which makes it a lot easier to read off your computer, which is one thing that some people have trouble doing. During the opponent's speech, they're going to jump you their speech, right? And you're going to be following along, so there's a tendency to be like, oh, I have their whole speech right now, I should start prepping mine. Who cares what they're saying, right? No. Flow. The worst thing, and as I've noticed it a lot more judging, is people will answer arguments that were not made because it was in the speech document, or drop arguments because it wasn't in the speech document because they did not flow. First and most importantly, you should flow during your opponent's speech. Second thing, a little less important, a lot less important, is you can look at their cards if you need to. If you didn't catch a word, you can look back at the tags. You should not plan on not flowing because paperless debate, they have to jump you a speech. After the debate, the last part of what I'll talk about, then Gaston and Brett will get to talk to you about what they're talking about. But you should save your speeches. Just like you wouldn't throw out a flow, I hope you wouldn't throw out a flow, you shouldn't throw out a speech. You should create a file folder somewhere on your computer where you can save your speeches, and then you can give redos, and you can give redos with the cards that you were using. It helps you get better a lot quicker than just giving practice speeches, because you can fix your mistakes, take what the judges gave you, their input, and you can re-give a whole speech better, and it helps you get better at debate. It allows you to find cards quickly. If you read a card that you thought was really good in a debate and you remember what debate it was, you can go back to that speech and find that card quickly, instead of trying to remember, oh, that author had a weird name with a Q in it, so I'll just search my documents for something with the word letter Q. And that takes a long time and is useless. The useless time that you could be spent prepping. Lastly is block writing. A lot of times in debates, you'll hear arguments that you don't have a pre-prepared block to, and you have to pull cards from a bunch of different places. If you save your speeches, it allows you to very easily write blocks to things that you encountered in debates because you have all the cards that you thought you needed. And the last thing that helps saving speeches is creating sites. Like I said earlier, there's a macro that allows you to just create sites that has the tag, the site, and a few words for the card that you can send to people when they ask for sites. And you can post to, if your school has a wiki that you post to or something, post it there. And so people can get the sites. It's a lot easier than having to go back and delete the whole middle part of the card, type up the tag before things are done on the computer, things like that. All right, so I'm going to end now. I have time for a few questions if anyone has questions about synergy or paperless debating. Cool. Well, Gaston's going to talk about verbatim. Oh, yeah. Raise your hands up high. I can't see you if you just hold it next to your head. Yes.
Could you just explain clarify the difference between a hat and a header?
All right. A hat is, it's separate. So in the document map, all of the headers show up, and the hats show up as well. Hats create a space between different sections, so you can create sections like solvency, 2NC blocks, and it creates a space so it's easy to navigate. Headers are what the block title on the top of the page, so solvency, high-speed rail.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Could you clarify what
chart that you read.
The like piece of evidence that you would read
Yeah.
to support your argument.
The evidence, it's when you do research and you like take a copy and paste like the paragraphs from the internet or whatever, and then you underline what part you're reading, that's the card. It includes a tag and a site and then the actual body of text that you're reading.
You gave an example that said don't open too many documents, but that seems kind of inevitable to me. Inevitable to me because it seems like you have to open more documents because you have to like put everything into one speech doc, you know? So how what would be some of the advice to avoid?
Well, when I say too many documents, I mean like sometimes without noticing after a debate, I'll have like 40 documents open. That's a lot. You can have like 10 open and that's okay, but if you just need one card from a file, open that file, take that card, and then close it. All I'm saying is remember, after you've used files, it's easy to forget to close them and then just go back to prepping. So you should remember to close something if you don't need any more cards from that file so it doesn't congest what you're doing. Any more questions? All right. Gaston's going to talk about
Okay, everybody, listen up. How many people in here have a Mac computer that you use? Raise your hand. Okay, how many of you already use, like have a paperless template installed on that Mac? Okay, so some people are using verbatim. Well, Synergy will not work on a Mac. The only way Synergy will work on a Mac is if you actually like run parallels and you run Windows on your Mac to do Synergy. But there's another template that you can use, and the verbatim template actually has a Microsoft Word version too for Mac for PC computers. If you choose to use that instead of Synergy, which you can, and all the sort of like formatting stuff that Colin talked about, like you want to use hats, tags, and block headers and things like that, are very similar. But if you use a Mac computer and you don't want to run Windows on your computer and you want to debate paperlessly, your only option is the verbatim template. I actually like the verbatim template better anyway in PC or Mac. But I'm going to show you where you get the template at, how you download it, what it looks like, and some tips about how to use this particular template. If you go to Google, if you notice on here, and you actually type in the search paperless debate verbatim, it will be the very first hit that you get, verbatim paperless debate. And this is a debate template that was created by Aaron Hardy, who's a debate coach at Whitman College, and it's really the first debate paperless template that existed, and it's been around and it's sort of like constantly evolves. He usually does new versions every year, so it's pretty updated, which is useful. So if you click this, it will take you to this website right here. And if you notice, the main page is verbatim for, it has the downloads and everything and information about the verbatim for PC, because it is originally designed to be used on PC. Right? So if you have a PC and you don't like Synergy or Synergy crashes too much and you want to switch to verbatim, you can go here and do that. It tells you like how to download it on this page. There's an installer, so basically it does it all for you, but you don't really have to like go into your directories or do anything specific. You just follow the instructions of the installer. There is something down here. If you have a PC and you decide to switch to the verbatim template for some reason, there are some things you have to do, like you have to completely remove Synergy before you install verbatim. So there's some tips down here about exactly how to do that, if any of you decide to do that. And you can ask a lab leader for help, maybe, if you have a tech issue like that or something. If you're using Mac, right, there's a little thing here looking for the Mac version, which if you click, it will open up this page, which is verbatim for Mac. So if you use Mac OS, right, this is basically, you want to still use OS and not run Windows parallel on your Mac, this is the only option you have for paperless debate. So the thing about it is there's a new version, right, 4.0, it's right up here at the top. There is an installer that you can just select, and if you select this, download a little thing right here. You will click it, and it will come up with an installer. Now, it'll ask you questions like, do you want to install, and you just click buttons saying install. I'm not going to do this because I already have it on my computer, but it's really that easy to use. So you just click those things and install it. Now, there is one thing that you have to do. How many people in here have Lion as your operating system for your Mac? If you do, raise your hand. Okay, if you have a Mac and you do not have Lion as your operating system, raise your hand. Okay, there are a couple people. If you have Lion, there's an extra step you might need to do before you start the install, okay? And Lion changed the directories in Mac, which was a bit of a issue that I actually had to email a party about last year, but it has sort of like an explanation here. One of the things you have to do if you have Lion before you install is you have to open up your Word document, just like sort of like any regular Word document, just like a Word document or something. And then you have to go here, you have to go Save As, and then you want to choose a Word template. The reason you have to do that is because it needs to create a template folder, and in Mac OS Lion, for some reason, there is not a template folder. I don't know why. Like sometimes there is one, and sometimes there's not. You have to make sure it's there because Verbatim actually has to have that program. So if you've never installed Verbatim on your computer and you're going to, make sure you go save just a random document as a Word template just to make sure the folder directory is there. And then once it's there, you can go there and just click the installer program and go through it. It will install automatically on your computer. Now, just like there's some other notes here about Lion 2, there's a manual for this too that you can go down through here and download. And the manual does not really have like an updated particular version of the manual, but it does have, let's see if I can find it real quick. It has like a quick start and Verbatim for Mac, and it can sort of like explain to you exactly what those are. This is the Paperless Mac's appendix, and if you click it, it will give you instructions about sort of like how to use the program. It includes like the macros, like the shortcuts at the bottom, like how to use the shortcuts in the program, and I'll show you what those shortcuts look like in just a minute. But if you end up using Verbatim on your Mac and you want to use the shortcuts, to get these shortcut keys to work, there's one other thing you have to do. You actually have to go into your system preferences on a Mac, under keyboard, and see this little thing right here where it says use all F1, F2 keys as standard function keys. On the Mac, you have all these really cool things like your top function keys, like can control, you know, like the brightness of your screen and your volume and stuff. If you want to use the shortcut keys dedicated in Verbatim, you need to go here in the general settings under keyboard and click that and turn it on. What it will do is it will take those automatic functions off of that top bar on your Mac and let it use the Verbatim functions. And then if you need to, you can push function key and you can still access that, right? But I'm having to push function key instead of just the normal like F2 button to get that to happen. And if you have an issue with that, I can show you, or someone that has a Mac, one of the staff can also show you how to do it. It's not that hard to do it. You just look in general settings under keyboard and click it. Some people don't really like using the shortcuts as much either, but you may want to, I would recommend turning them on. But here's an explanation of the shortcuts. But the Verbatim program, let me show you a little bit of what it looks like when you run it on Mac. So let's just say that we had a debate round. Or we'll start with the debate round. We'll just start with if we're cutting cards. If you're going to cut or work on a debate document, once you have Verbatim installed, you just click Open, your Word thing, and look at your templates. And under My Templates, there'll be a template called Debate. You click this, it opens. There's a little button right here, right? It'll be next to the question mark. Click it. Go to View, go to Toolbars, and under Toolbars, there'll be one for Debate. Click this toolbar, and these are all the commands that you can use to make debate happen paperlessly, okay? And up at the top, you can create a hat with F4, you can create a block with F5, F6, and you can either like use those shortcut keys, which they're mapped out above you right here, or you can do it, for instance, let's say that we were doing like a 1AC. We can either push F4 or we can go select it, and it will make a little block header, right? And that's like the hat header. And then let's say you had like, you can make a block header too. And the organization of files is the exact same in Synergy as it's in Verbatim. You still use hats, and the hats are sort of like your big dividers in the sections of your file. Like if you have an app, maybe like 1AC, like solvency, inherency, specific advantages labeled and things like that, like 2AC blocks. And then the block headers are basically just like every little section, like what that particular section is about. And then finally you have tags and you have like sites. And there's also a button for normal card. And what normal card means is like if you import something from the internet to cut cards in Verbatim, right? You may want to highlight all of that and select normal card, and it will take all that formatting out. It's sort of like the clear formatting function in Synergy. And then you can edit it and sort of like change it the way you want and input the right formatting that you need. But you format it the same way with the head, with the hat, with the block, and with the tag and the site. And over here on the left, this is the document map that Colin was talking about. I'll show you sort of an example of what that looks like. But you cut cards in a very similar way that you would to Synergy. You just use the headings, it's all set. You can highlight, you can underline. All of those commands are sort of already built in. Now, if you're going to debate with this template, let me show you what that would look like. So, let's say that you were going to debate on this particular topic using the pre-institute files, right, with Verbatim. Well, let's say that, you were going to do a 1AC. So, let's click the National Infrastructure Bank app. So here's this. Notice your little bar is up here. If for some reason you open a Word document for debate and the little bar of commands is not up at the top, if you go to View, usually it will be there and you just turn it on or turn it off. If you can turn it off or you can turn it on. And this little button right here will somehow, it like initiates the command to start it if for some reason it doesn't show up in the toolbar. But so, let's say you found this. Well, this button right here, see this little plus button right here, which we all like? It's called New Speech. You click New Speech, and you type in the speech. So, say 1AC, practice round 1, metering workshop. Okay, you've created this speech, save it on your desktop. So, you can just minimize that document now. And then you're like, well, I'm going to read this National Infrastructure Bank 1AC. So usually you can use this document pan over here on the side to sort of like switch between different parts of the file. Sometimes you have to check it to make sure that it will send things over. But this arrow right here says it sends to speech, and it will send things over to your speech doc. Or you can use the tilde key, which is the same key that you use as a shortcut in Synergy. So for instance, say you want the National Infrastructure Bank 1AC, you can just go through and start clicking those over. And I believe if you have different headers, let's see, these are different headers, and then the plan's like on a different header, it will only send over the things that you click. Yep. Sometimes, depending on how it's formatted, it may not cooperate. And if it doesn't, one of the things you can do is highlight large sections, which is something that you have to do in Synergy too from time to time. And once you highlight that, you can send it to